Okay, hello everyone. This is Sharonda, and this is my podcast and YouTube channel, Spiritual Sense. Today is Sunday, which is April the 21st. And as I mentioned, I'm going to go over the topic for today, which is precognition. Now, this will probably be the fourth time that I'm speaking about precognition. And what exactly is precognition? So let me pull up as defined is for knowledge of an event, especially for knowledge of a paranormal kind. And let me click here. So it mentions that precognition is the purported psychic phenomenon of seeing or otherwise becoming directly aware of events in the future. There is no accepted scientific evidence that precognition is a real effect, and it is widely considered to be a pseudoscience. It goes on to mention that precognition violates the principle of causality, that an effect cannot occur before its cause. Precognition has been widely believed in throughout history. Despite the lack of scientific evidence, many people believe it to be real. It is still widely reported and remains a topic of research and discussion within the parapsychology community. So it goes on to mention about precognitive phenomena. Precognition is sometimes treated as an example of the wider phenomenon of prescience or foreknowledge to understand by any means what is likely to happen in the future. It is distinct from premonition, which is a vaguer feeling of some impending disaster. Related activities such as predictive prophecy and fortune telling have been practiced throughout history. So you have precognitive dreams are the most widely reported occurrences of precognition. Usually, a dream or vision can only be identified as precognitive after the putative event has taken place. When such an event occurs after a dream, it is said to have broken the dream. So I'm going to go ahead. This is not going to be a long podcast because, as I mentioned, I've spoken on this topic. This possibly would be the fourth time that I have spoken on this topic. And then I think I'm going to speak on, well, I'm just going to stick with this one. I'm just going to stick with this. I'm not going to bring all these different topics together. But precognition essentially is when God gives you a spiritual sight about something. It's a part of your intuition. It could be a situation where, say, for instance, he would show you some things in your spiritual sight, and it would be done in such a way, and then it would manifest itself. It could be 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the line. That's basically what precognition is. It's your intuition. You will know what you know, what you know, if that makes any sense. Um, so you will get a synopsis as to, it's kind of like a innate lie detector, where you know when something is true versus not, if that makes any sense to anybody. Um, I think God bestowed these capabilities to certain individuals, possibly of us all. If you pay attention, when you are in situations or environments that may seem as though it's not real, or there's a lot of deception or fake or phoniness or flakiness, if you may, and it's hard to discern, particularly when you're bottled with a whole bunch of um, adversaries, atrocities, disparities, if that makes any sense to anybody. So this is his way of providing you insight about some things, and you will know what you know, what you know, what you know. If that makes any sense in anybody. I think we all have that capability. We do. And once you have asked God to come in and to guide you, He will alert you on things based on, your feelings. Um, why is it that every time I am around this person, I get this sensation of this, or this sensation of that, or this thought of this, or this feeling of that? That is the truth. And I think that's your intuition being unleashed. And oftentimes people will try to say that you are crazy and that you don't know what you're talking about and all this other stuff, but you will know what you know, what you know. And God does have a way of relaying messages to us. All of us have this capability. I think he may choose certain people more so than others. It's just based on how receptive you are to it. If you have, you know, asked that existence to intercede into this existence, yes, it is so. Now, is this something that you can, is it admissible in court? Possibly not. I do feel as though we all have common sense, common knowledge, but this is apart from that. He will show you in others what will manifest in another uh, person or group of people. He will, and that's basically what precognition is when he give you foresight about something, and you would just know. You will know what you know, what you know, um, or what have you. So let's go down. As I mentioned before, anybody can be prophetic. Anybody can be, quote, psychic, or intuitive. So it goes on to mention that in religion, in Judaism, it is believed that dreams are mostly insignificant, while others have the potential to contain prophetic messages. According to the book of Genesis, God granted Joseph precognition through the prophetic dreams and the ability to interpret dreams of others. And I do believe that. I do believe that um, God uses whatever vessels He chooses to relate a message to us, to give us insight about intent and whatever the case may be, because it revealed to me that a lot of the language and term has been added to or taken away from, to where confusion came into the midst. And so in order to bring you clarity, you would gain that insight. You will know what you know, what you know. Okay. I think the biblical text has been thwarted by many different entities and spirits to um, distort our perception and our belief and our faith, is what I feel. And so once you ask God to come in and to give you true understanding and knowledge as to what was being conveyed, He will do so. He will do so. So it goes on to mention that Hinduism has a subsystem of psychology called the Indian psychology, with dreams believed to contain information about the future. There are 7 classifications of dream or swapna, in which those which become manifest are called bhatva. Now, I also like to mention that I don't want anybody to feel as though I am targeting your particular belief system, culture, or whatever the ethnicity or whatever the case may be. I'm not. I am simply doing this as a case study. So I only can go off of what is presented on here. And I do believe and know that you cannot believe everything that is presented on the internet. And it works the same way with the book. So that's why I feel as though God does have a way of honing your spiritual sight to know otherwise, apart from common sense and common knowledge, if that makes any sense to anybody. It goes on to mention that precognition has a role in Buddhism, with dreams believed to be mind created phenomena. Those dreams which warn of impending danger or even prepare us for overwhelming, overwhelming good news are considered the most important. I think it's something very significant, is what I feel. I honestly believe that. I do believe that um, your dreams can tell on your innate, deepest, darkest desire. I do. Or a innate, deepest, darkest desire of a people, a group of people, or whatever, or mankind. I do feel that way. I do. However, I believe because we are speaking about spirituality, paranormal as such, that um we're playing catch up, if that makes any sense. And I think what that means is many languages were made obsolete, meaning they're no longer spoken, only in certain settings. And when certain energies manifest these uh, extinct languages, is to tell on certain spirits in time, if that makes sense. So it mentions to me my psychic spiritual guide that that's why a lot of the languages was pretty much by way of sound. It was an innate knowing to keep those from knowing what was being conveyed. And a lot of information that is presented is presumptive. We don't know. It's the point. But God will give you an innate knowing. Um, God will give you intent, if that makes sense to anybody. So let me continue to read off of here. Throughout history, it has been believed that certain individuals have precognitive abilities or that certain practices can induce such experiences. And these visions have sometimes been associated with important historical events despite the lack of scientific evidence. Many people still believe in precognition. Um, so it goes on to mention about um, extrasensory perception. I am going to tell you that extrasensory perception is real. I'm going to tell you precognition is real and premonitions are real. I'm going to tell you that. Okay, so it has antiquity. Since ancient times, precognition has been associated with dreams and trance states, as well as waking premonitions, giving rise to the acts of prophecy and fortune telling. Oracles, originally seen as sources of wisdom, became progressively associated with previsions of the future. I am going to tell you that God does have a way of putting you in a trance like state to provide you insight about something that may happen today, tomorrow, next week, next year, 5 years, 50 years, 100 years down the line. He does have the ability to do that. And that is the God, Son, and truth. You will know what you know, what you know, what you know, what you know. It's just that simple. They can sit here and say that you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. That's in your mind. You just da 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 da. You have a personal vendetta. Nope, 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 no, no. Okay, these things are real. I think when people have not had that awakening, they would denounce that capability and say that it is not so. It is so. Now, I do believe that certain things can perpetuate a lot of these activities, but that is the point. Um, and what do I mean by that? Well, you may have people that may say, "Oh, okay, well, you're stressed, or your over active imagination can be perpetuated by something you ate or something you took. Are you into some type of substances or whatever the case may be?" No, because I have had situations where I know it wasn't nothing I ate. I don't take any substances, illegal substances. So you would know what you know, what you know. It's just that simple. Um, So I'm not going to be on here too much longer, but I did want to touch bases on precognition. Precognition is real. Um, it is a real thing that I think God bestows upon pretty much anybody that He chooses. And being a medium, as I mentioned, a magic mind medium that I like to refer to myself as, is such as that, where you have been around long enough to where you can relate one thing to the next, and you're able to tap into that other existence to verbally express what is being conveyed, if that makes any sense to anybody. Trances are real. um it's God by way of, oftentimes when we think of God, we think of this supernatural being that is invisible. But I'm going to tell you that everything is God and God is everything. And certain people notable in history is God by way of. You need something to see, so it will manifest by way of a trance in this individual to shed light on a situation. That is so. Okay. So I am going to conclude this episode of Spiritual Sense speaking about precognition. Do you believe in precognition, and what exactly is precognition? So if any questions, comments, suggestions, you're more than welcome to comment below. Until then, have a safe and wonderful day. Good day.